Welcome to Garden Crafts, a place where recycled dreams take root and everyday trash blossoms into joy. Today, we invite you on a whimsical walk to the garden, where bottle bees buzz without wings, koi made from plastic drift in still ponds, and a curious parade of handcrafted creatures bring smiles from the shadows of shrubs. If you ever looked at a plastic bottle and thought, this could be something more, then you're already one of us, a dreamer, a maker, a gardener of possibilities. So, before we begin, take a gentle moment to support our growing community. Click like if this brought a smile to your day, subscribe to stay inspired, and share your thoughts in the comments. What would you make from a single forgotten bottle? Let's grow something beautiful together, from the ordinary to the extraordinary, one recycled creature at a time. The gravel path was once just a quiet walkway between flower beds, a place for tools and tired feet. But one breezy morning, something delightful happened. A line of ants, big, bright, and far too cheerful to be real, march along that path like soldiers in a toy parade. Crafted entirely from plastic bottles, these ants bring laughter and curiosity wherever they go. Red soda bottles form their bulbous heads. Blue water bottles curve into playful thoraxes and abdomens, while sturdy black wires twist into expressive legs and antennae that bounce with every gust of wind. There's nothing perfect about them. Some are crooked, others a bit too shiny, but they each carry a spark of joy, a personality born from leftover plastic and afternoon paint. Children love to name them. That one's Max. The one with the big eyes is Lolo. And why not? Each ant has its charm. Some even seem to smirk. They creep past clusters of zinnias, disappear beneath bean trellises, then reappear with a glint of sunlight on their backs. What started as a weekend experiment quickly turned into a story. These ants aren't just decorations, they're ambassadors of reuse, of seeing beauty in what others throw away. With just a handful of bottles, some paint, glue, and wire, anyone can bring these cheerful garden guardians to life. And the best part? They never bite. They simply march, forever, reminding every visitor that even discarded things can walk tall if someone believes they still have purpose. Observe, imitate, modify. That is the quiet rhythm guiding this bloom. First, we observe. The way a real lotus unfurls at dawn, the gentle arch of each petal, the stillness of a frog resting close to the water's skin. Next, we imitate. Translucent plastic bottles, once tossed aside after a single sip, are cut into soft ovals, their edges lightly heated to curl like living tissue. Finally, we modify. Paint mixes with pearl powder, giving every petal a luminous blush that no natural flower would dare. Out of waste, something softly wondrous floats. Set on the pond, and the whole garden pauses. The petals catch stray beams of sunlight, turning them into faint rainbows on the stone rim. Beneath, a line of LED lights waits for dusk. When evening falls, the lotus becomes a lantern and the water glitters like distant stars. The tiny frog, shaped from a bottle cap, its wide marble eyes reflecting sky and leaf, appears to breathe. He is guardian, storyteller, and subtle prankster in equal measure, grinning at dragonflies that skim the surface. Creating your own takes little more than kitchen scissors, a candle flame to curl the plastic, a dab of waterproof glue, and patience. Children can paint petals. Adults can wire the frog's steady perch, slip a tea light inside, lower the bloom onto still water, and watch neighbors lean over the fence, asking how petals this delicate survive the rain. It is a small act of alchemy. Trash becomes treasure, a simple pond becomes a stage, and evening walks linger just a bit longer. One bottle, one bloom, one frog. Proof that imagination floats best when it remembers to recycle. Not all beauty must fly away. Some stay and shimmer where the flowers bloom, hovering in the stillness, wings caught mid-movement, carved not by nature but by our own quiet hands. This garden wasn't always home to butterflies, but one rainy afternoon, a soda bottle, clear and forgotten, was cut and coaxed into a new form. The wing shapes came first, snipped with care and curled gently over candlelight. Then came paint, not thick but wispy, layers of color that catch the sunlight and flicker, like a stained glass window held to the sky. When planted on thin copper wire stems, these butterflies dance with the breeze, bright and silent, among the lavender. Each one carries its own rhythm. Some are fiery red. Their wings flick with gold like late summer leaves. Others wear cool tones, misty blues and silvery purples that match the twilight air. The bodies are just twisted bottlenecks, but they seem alive when swaying gently above the zinnias. This is what the butterflies bring, not motion, but magic. Children trace their wings with fingers. Gardeners pause before watering. Guests ask how something so delicate was made from something so dull. And that's the secret. The magic is not in the bottle, but in how we choose to see it. To make your own, all you need is a plastic bottle, a pair of scissors, a bit of imagination, and time. No need for perfection. The charm lies in a handmade feel, in the little curves and flicks of color that no machine could quite repeat. And once they take their place in the garden, among the herbs and blooms, they'll never fly away. They'll stay, forever fluttering, reminding us that transformation lives even in the trash. In the quiet corner where the garden meets the fence, something joyful now stands. A small blue elephant with a trunk curled like a question mark, ears painted with sunbursts, and eyes so wide they seem to be listening to the wind. It didn't begin this way. Once, it was a pile of discarded plastic bottles, water jugs left behind after a picnic, soda bottles with faded labels, a few caps rolling in the dust. But with some scissors, paint, wire, and weekend laughter, those forgotten bits took shape. The body formed from large bottle bellies. The legs stood firm with bottle bases, and the trunk, playfully lifted, was just a warm bend and a bottleneck, fixed in place with a hopeful tilt. Now it stands guard, not with might, but with wonder. Children stop to pet its snout. Gardeners place small flowers around its feet, like offerings. Neighbors smile and ask, "Where did you buy that?" And the answer is always the same. We didn't buy it. We made it. The elephant isn't perfect. Its ears don't match exactly, and one eye wobbles a little when the wind blows. But that only adds to its charm. It's a creature born of care, not commerce. And it tells a quiet story. That trash, when seen with fresh eyes, can become delight. To create one yourself takes little more than a few bottles, glue, a splash of color, and a curious heart. And in return, you get something magical, a garden friend with a lifted trunk and a gentle reminder that creativity, when paired with kindness to the earth, can stand tall and smile in any weather. Just as the sun begins to dip behind the rooftops, a quiet figure watches over the garden. Perched high on the old fence post, it doesn't blink or call, but its round yellow eyes seem to glow with quiet wisdom. It is not a real owl, but then again it feels like one. Made from bottles that once held water or juice, this owl has been reborn with grace. Its body was layered from feather-shaped cutouts, each one snipped from plastic, painted in soft tones of slate and gold, and glued carefully in rows like shingles. The wings fall gently by its sides, and the head turns slightly, as if listening to the wind move through the lavender below. Its eyes draw the gaze first, made from rings of bottle caps and black pupils painted onto smooth plastic discs. They seem almost alive. The beak is sharp, folded neatly from triangular bottle scrap, while its feet clutch the wood with curled plastic claws. It began as a project meant for fun, just a weekend idea. But somewhere between the glue and the paint, something else emerged, a presence. Children tiptoe past it. Guests ask where it came from. It has become more than decoration. It's a guardian of petals and stars, a silent storyteller perched in plain view. To make one is to slow down, to cut carefully, to imagine not the plastic, but the creature inside it. It's a way to give forgotten bottles a second life, and your garden a second heartbeat. Every fence, every tree branch, every bare post is a waiting perch. And with just a few tools and a little care, an owl might just find its wings again, watching always from among the blooms. There's a quiet delight that hides beneath the bushes, where the grass is soft and dappled light filters through the leaves. Among the roots and fallen petals, a tiny family has taken up residence. Not real creatures, but ones imagined into being through love, laughter, and a few leftover bottles. The first one appeared almost by accident. A brown soda bottle, half crushed, was curled and cut until it resembled a spiky back. Add a pair of round plastic ears, a painted for a nose and two glinting eyes, and suddenly there was a hedgehog. Then came another, then a smaller one, and before long, a family had gathered under shrubs. They don't move, but they seem ready to. Their shiny backs glisten after rain. Their eyes catch the light in early morning. Each one carries a slightly different tilt to its head, as if listening for footsteps or laughter. They become the garden's best-kept secret, discovered only by those who stoop low or look closely. Children adore them, crouching down to name them and invent stories about where they sleep at night. Adults smile, then bend closer, inspecting the cleverness of their curled plastic quills. To make your own, you don't need more than a few bottles, scissors, glue, and the willingness to play. The joy is in shaping. The slow curve of each spike, the tiny ear cutouts, the moment a face emerges from the plastic. And once they're nestled beneath a shrub, tucked into a flower bed, or perched beside a stone, they'll stay quietly watching. Not just decoration, but a warm reminder that even the smallest, simplest creatures, when born creativity and care, can turn any corner of your garden into a story worth sharing. Where the wind whispers over still water and the sky reflects in quiet ripples, a swan glides, not flesh and feather, but bottle and breathless imagination. It floats with poise, its head tilted just so, its wings layered in curves of clear plastic that catch and scatter sunlight like falling snowflakes. This bottle swan didn't come from a sculpture garden or store. It was shaped in someone's backyard, where used plastic bottles once sat idle in a crate. One by one, they were cleaned, trimmed, and shaped. Feathers cut from soda bottles, layered in rows from tail to chest. The neck, tall and proud, was formed from softened plastic tubes, coaxed into a graceful arch with a gentle brush. The beak was painted orange, and pearl white misted over the wings. Placed on a still pond or nestled into a shallow bird bath, it transforms a space. Children gather and whisper. Neighbors slow their walk. The illusion is complete, until a breeze moves the surface and reveals its secret shimmer. Then it becomes even more beautiful, because it's not real. It's chosen, created, reimagined. This DIY project asks for patience, not perfection. It requires nothing more than discarded bottles, some waterproof adhesive, scissors, and your time. But in return, it gives a symbol, a quiet reminder that even what we throw away can still float, still shine, still bring peace. Let it glide on your garden pond, or rest in a courtyard fountain. Let it reflect light through the trees and cast shadows on the stones below. A swan made of bottles isn't just art. It's a promise that grace can rise from even the humblest of things. In the warm hum of summer garden, there's a curious little parade in motion. Not real bees, though they dance just the same, drifting in the wind, tilting on their slender wire legs, casting soft shadows on the soil. These are bees of another kind, born from bottles, shaped by hand and buzzing with joy. Each one began as waste, discarded soda bottles, caps, and scraps of transparent packaging. With a bit of yellow paint, black stripes, and some curled wire, they were transformed into playful garden guests. The wings, soft and shimmering, are cut from clear bottles and pinned to their sides like petals catching the sun. Their faces are simple, button eyes or dot of paint, smiling in their simplicity. They don't sting, they don't fly away, but they carry a message with every wobble of their little heads. That beauty can be built from what we leave behind. Place them along a garden path, in rows beside basil and thyme, or at them around pots and planters. They brighten corners with their cheer and bring giggles from children who spot them buzzing above the rosemary. Neighbors stop and ask how they were made, and the answer is always warmly given, because these bees are for sharing. To create one is simple, but the joy it gives multiplies. It's a perfect weekend project for families, classrooms, or community gardens. And once they take their place under the sky, they flutter with purpose. Reminders that our smallest efforts in reuse could become the most heartwarming sights. Let them buzz. Let them stay. Let them remind us, gently, that kindness, like creativity, can take the lightest form and still leave a mark on the world. They don't rustle. They don't run. But somehow, you still pause when you see them tucked beneath the bush. Tiny creatures with wide plastic eyes and backs bristling with carefully cut curls. These aren't animals that arrived from the woods. They were born from soda bottles in a quiet afternoon beneath the trees. Each one was shaped with care, bodies trimmed from brown bottles, spikes formed by curling thin strips of plastic with the edge of warm scissors. Their noses, black and glinting, give them the look of someone always sniffing for strawberries. Eyes crafted from buttons or beads give them a gentle curiosity, as though they're peeking at you from a tiny world of leaves and mulch. It started with just one hedgehog, then another a little smaller, then a third, round and stout, just right for a child's hand. Placed in a line beneath the flowering bush, they looked as though they had wandered in on their own and never left. They don't take up much space. In fact, they make use of what most people throw away, and that's the quiet magic of them. These hedgehogs remind us that reuse isn't only about responsibility, it's also about wonder. You can craft them in under an hour, but their charm lingers for months. Add them to your garden under ferns or beside a log. Let them rest among moss and violets. And when someone bends low and sees their glinting eyes, they'll smile. Because whimsy, real gentle whimsy, has a way of growing where it's least expected. And in a world of fast things, these bottle hedgehogs remind us to slow down, curl up, and simply be part of the shade. Scattered like confetti across the garden's edge, they rest, dozens of ladybugs in bold, bright red, their spotted backs gleaming in the sun. But these are not the real kind that flutter and fly. These are creatures made by hand, coaxed into life from bottles meant for the bin. Their rounded bodies began as plastic soda bottles, cut short, painted deep red, and dotted with perfect little black circles. Some are rounder, others more oval, each one different, like children in a playground. Tiny wire legs, curled just so, lift them gently off the ground. A twist of wire or pipe cleaner becomes antennae in the face, sometimes painted, sometimes made from buttons. Peers up with wide eyes full of mischief. They sit on pots, perch on stones, and climb slowly across mulch paths, frozen mid-wander. At a glance, you'd almost think they were real, caught still in the warmth of the day. The magic is not in the detail alone, but in the transformation. These ladybugs were once waste, tossed aside without thought. And now, they're garden mascots, conversation starters, and tiny red symbols of creativity. Making them is delightfully simple. A few bottles, a little paint, a handful of wire. The rest is play. Choosing how big the spot should be, where the antenna should curl, what expression might suit each new bug. They're perfect for a family craft session, a school garden project, or just a quiet Saturday with your favorite brush. Once made, they settle into their corners of the garden like they've always belonged. And when someone finds them, nestled beside a rosemary pot or sunbathing on stone, they pause, smile, and remember, beauty can come from even the smallest, roundest scrap of trash, if you just see it with wonder. When the wind is still and the surface of the water turns to glass, the koi appear, bright and silent, their painted fins gliding just below the sunlight. But look a little closer, and you'll see their secret. They are not fish at all, but forgotten bottles given a second chance to swim. These koi began as clear soda bottles and water jugs, ordinary plastics shaped into extraordinary creatures. The bodies are softened and smooth, then painted with care. Rich reds, streaks of black, soft blushes of pearl. Their tails, cut from curved bottle ends, ripple gently as they move with the water, and their fins spread wide like fans caught mid-fold. Each one is slightly different, like real koi, each telling its own story of color and movement. They float quietly, but they command attention. Guests lean in, wondering if they might be alive. Children crouch at the edge of the pond, pointing and whispering. There's something oddly soothing about them, how they drift and turn, weightless and unbothered. To make one is a kind of meditation. You trim, shape, and paint. You place it on the water, and it glides as if it belongs. You don't need a big pond, just a wide bowl, a shallow basin. Even a repurposed tub will do. Wherever water collects, the koi will swim. These floating fish aren't just pretty, they're peaceful. A celebration of reuse, of creativity, of slowing down to watch the world float by. And in a world rushing toward waste, they remind us that even bottles can carry beauty. All it takes is a little paint, a little care, and a willingness to believe that trash can ripple like art. Along the winding path of pebbles and time, a little visitor pauses, motionless, yet unmistakably alive in spirit. A snail, smiling with oversized eyes, coils its painted shell beside a daisy. But it's not real, not soft, not slimy. It's a plastic bottle, transformed with care into a garden's quiet mascot. This snail was once trash, a soda bottle long forgotten. But through playful eyes, it became something new. The body was cut and bent into a soft curve, then painted a rich, earthy tone. The shell, a curled segment of bottle plastic, was rolled and layered into a perfect spiral, glued and dusted with color. Its antennae, made from bent wire or repurposed stems, reached skyward like curious question marks. It doesn't move, but it doesn't need to. It rests between marigolds and mint, nestled by stones, watching the world with its gentle gaze. Sometimes dew gathers on its shell in the morning light. Sometimes children crouch beside it and say hello. This is a joy of the bottle snail, not just in its shape, but in its spirit. It is the smallest reminder that slow is not bad, that stillness can be beautiful, and that what we discard can become something to pause for. You don't need much to create one. A few plastic bottles, scissors, a little glue, and a patient afternoon. Paint it in soft pastels or wild metallics. Give it big eyes or sleepy ones. Place it by the path or hide it near the herbs. And when you walk your garden the next morning and spot your little snail, still resting, still smiling, you'll remember there is magic in the slow, in the simple, and in the things we choose to see differently. In the quiet cur of the garden where stones meet grass, something extraordinary has taken root. Not a flower, not a tree, but a proud peacock, still in motion, yet bursting with color, its tail fanned wide like a painter's palette of shimmering blues and greens. This regal creature didn't arrive by nature's hand. It was born from bottles, empty, ordinary plastic ones, gathered and reimagined. Its body, built from layered water bottles, painted in royal blues and indigo, rises with an elegant curve. But it's the tail that steals the breath away, crafted from dozens of bottle bottoms, trimmed into soft scallop circles, each one painted in peacock hues. Ocean green, sapphire, hints of gold, arranged like a fan behind the figure. These feathers catch the light and scatter it, casting gentle reflections across the fence behind. Some glint in sunlight, others glow at dusk, especially if you've tucked a string of tiny lights between the layers. Children often pause here, wide-eyed, wondering how such a creature came to perch in the backyard. Adults lean closer, tracing the patterns, then slowly smiling when they realize, it's all plastic, isn't it? Yes, plastic, but transformed. Creating this peacock is a labor of love. It may take time, collecting, cutting, painting, layering, but offers something most decorations can't. Wonder. It turns a forgotten bottle into a moment of splendor. Position it in a quiet garden nook, near a climbing vine or a stone bench. Let it watch over the herbs and flowers with dignity and drama. And every time someone rounds a corner and gasps, you'll be reminded. Even waste can strut, shimmer, and remind us that beauty often begins with what we almost threw away. At first, it seems like something alive has taken to your garden wall. Something long, bright, and full of joy. A cheerful little caterpillar, inching its way along the bricks, made not from leaf or limb, but from the rounded bellies of old plastic bottles. This creature doesn't eat the plants. It doesn't wriggle or weave, but it brings a certain magic all the same. Its body is a line of plastic bottle pieces, trimmed and joined end to end, forming a wavy trail along the fence or stone ledge. Each segment is a different color. Sunset reds, mini greens, sky blues, blending into a gentle rainbow that crawls across the space. The head is where the laughter begins. Painted eyes, bright cheeks, a smile that feels alive, an antennae made from curled wire or twine bouncing from the top. The tail curves upward, like it's waving goodbye. What was once trash becomes a playful visitor, a quiet storyteller that stretches across the backdrop of your garden. It doesn't demand much, just bottles, glue, paint, and the courage to be a little silly. That's part of its charm. It's a project for families, for rainy days turned sunny, for shared laughter and color-smeared hands. Children delight in naming each one. This one's stripy, that one's wiggles. And adults find themselves smiling too, remembering that gardens are not just for flowers, but for wonder. Mount your caterpillar on a fence, along the edge of a planter, or climbing beside your herbs. Wherever it crawls, it brings a burst of happiness, and a gentle reminder that joy, like nature, often begins with small, unexpected things. And the next time someone spots it and leans in close to ask, "Did you really make that from bottles?" just nod and smile. You saw a caterpillar where others saw trash. When dusk settles over the garden and the wind holds its breath, they arrive, not with a buzz or a flutter, but with still wings caught in eternal flight. Dragonflies, gentle and glistening, yet not born of wings and water. These are creatures of craft, sculpted from bottle scraps and shaped by light. Each dragonfly began in pieces. A plastic bottle, clear and crumpled. Scissors traced the wings, wide and tapered, etched with fine lines like nature intended. The body, a bottleneck trimmed and painted, slender and smooth, was finished with a tail made from curled wire or layered caps. Some eyes were made from beads, others simply dots of dark paint. Always placed with intention to give life. Mounted on garden stakes or fine wire, they float just above the flowers, suspended, almost unreal, catching the day's last sunlight on their wings. Lavender, pale blue, silver, each one glows with its own soft aura. At first glance, they seem a hover in motion, held not by wire, but wonder. These dragonflies don't dart or dip, but they bring a movement of the soul, a reminder to pause, to appreciate what's handmade, upcycled, and filled with care. Crafting them is meditative. It's the kind of project you start on a quiet afternoon, with soft music playing and scissors snipping gently. There's joy in the shaping, in the gentle bending of wings, in watching something discarded take flight. Place them over a water bowl, beside the thyme, among the tall grass. Let them linger like a summer memory. Let them shine with the last light of day. Because sometimes the garden doesn't need more plants. It needs stillness with wings. And these bottle dragonflies, they hover not just over flowers, but over the quiet joy of doing something simple, beautiful, and kind.